Arman almost ignored the message. It came in quietly, buried between notifications he didn't care about and reminders he kept postponing. Just a link, no text, no name. Only a timestamp that made his chest tighten when he noticed it. 2:17 a.m. He stared at it longer than he wanted to admit. There was something about that time that didn't sit right with him, like a word you almost remember but can't quite say. He told himself it was nothing. Probably spam. Probably a wrong number. Probably something he could delete and forget. But his thumb hovered. His room was dim, lit only by the cold glow of his phone screen. The fan above creaked in a slow rhythm, pushing warm air around like it had given up trying to cool anything. Outside, the night was still. Too still. He tapped the link. The video opened to silence. A black screen, no title, no description. Just a thin white progress bar at the bottom, already moving. He almost closed it, but then the image flickered. A room appeared. It was small, cluttered, and painfully familiar. Arman leaned forward, his breath catching. The walls were the same dull off-white he had once hated. The wooden shelf in the corner sagged slightly to the left. The old clock above the door ticked with a soft, steady rhythm. Tick, tick, tick. He knew this room. It was his room. Not now, not the one he was sitting in, but the one he had left behind 3 years ago. The one he had promised himself he'd never think about again. The camera moved slightly, as if someone was holding it. The angle was uneven, shaky, breathing almost. It felt alive. And then he saw himself, sitting on the edge of the bed, head in his hands. Arman's throat went dry. "No," he whispered, though there was no one to hear him. The version of him in the video looked smaller, somehow fragile. His shoulders were hunched, his hair messy, his face pale under the dim yellow light. There was something in his posture that Arman recognized instantly. Defeat. The video had no sound, but Arman didn't need it. He remembered that night, every second of it. He had been 24, alone, broken in ways he didn't have words for. His father had died just months before. The job he thought would save him had collapsed overnight. The person he loved had walked away without looking back. And that night at 2:17 a.m., he had sat in that room and believed, truly believed, that nothing would ever get better. His chest tightened as he watched his past self lift his head. There was a phone in his hand. Arman's heartbeat began to race. He knew what came next. He remembered dialing the number. He remembered staring at the screen, hesitating, then cutting the call before it could connect. He remembered thinking there was no point in reaching out, that no one would understand, that no one would care. But in the video, something was different. The call didn't end. His past self pressed the phone to his ear. Arman's breath stopped. "No, that didn't happen," he said, aloud, his voice shaking. "I didn't call anyone." But the video continued. His past self spoke. Silent words formed on his lips, invisible to the present but heavy with meaning. Arman leaned closer, as if he could force the sound out of the screen. Then suddenly the video cut. Black. He blinked rapidly, his heart pounding against his ribs. His reflection stared back at him from the dark screen, eyes wide, confused, unsettled. The progress bar wasn't finished. The video resumed. The camera angle had changed. Now it showed the doorway, and someone was standing there. A woman. Arman felt something twist deep inside him. He couldn't see her face clearly at first, just the outline of her figure. But as she stepped forward into the light, recognition hit him like a wave. Sarah. He hadn't seen her in 3 years. Not since the day she left. Not since the words they threw at each other like weapons, each one sharper than the last. But here she was, in that room, on that night. Impossible. His past self stood up slowly, as if unsure whether she was real. They faced each other, the silence between them heavy, charged. Arman's mind raced. This never happened. She didn't come back. She never came back. But in the video she had. She took a step closer, then another. And then she did something Arman had spent years wishing for and convincing himself he didn't need. She hugged him. Not the kind of hug people give out of obligation or habit. This was different. It was tight, desperate, like she was holding on to something she was afraid to lose. His past self didn't move at first. He stood there, stiff, uncertain. Then slowly, hesitantly, his arms lifted and wrapped around her. Arman felt his vision blur. Tears. He didn't remember crying that night. He didn't remember being held. He didn't remember not being alone. The video cut again. This time it showed the two of them sitting on the bed, talking, really talking. The kind of conversation that strips everything down to the truth. No pride, no defenses, just raw honesty. Arman couldn't hear the words, but he could read the emotions. Regret, forgiveness, understanding. His chest ached with a strange, unfamiliar feeling. Hope. The video ended abruptly. The screen went still. No replay button. No title, no comments. Just the silence of something that wasn't supposed to exist. Arman sat there for a long time, staring at the empty screen. His mind tried to make sense of it, to find a logical explanation. Maybe it was edited. Maybe it was fake. Maybe it was some kind of trick. But deep down he knew. This wasn't about what happened. This was about what could have happened. He leaned back slowly, running a hand over his face. He had spent 3 years telling himself a story. That he had been alone. That no one came. That there was nothing to hold on to. That night at 2:17 a.m. had become a turning point in his life. Not because something happened, but because nothing did. Or at least, that's what he believed. His phone buzzed softly in his hand. A new message. This time there was a name. Sarah. His breath caught. The message was simple. Are you awake? Arman stared at it, his heart pounding in a way that felt both terrifying and strangely familiar. He looked at the time. 2:17 a.m. For a moment he couldn't move. His mind filled with questions, doubts, fears. What if this was a mistake? What if reaching out only reopened old wounds? What if nothing had changed? But then another thought rose above the noise. What if it had? He looked back at the dark screen of the video, at his own reflection staring back at him. For the first time in a long time, he felt something shift inside him. Not certainty, not confidence, but a quiet, fragile willingness. His fingers moved before he could overthink it. He opened the message and typed. This time he didn't hesitate. This time he didn't let the moment pass. Because maybe life wasn't about what had already been written. Maybe it was about the choices you were still brave enough to make. And somewhere between the silence of the past and the uncertainty of the future, Arman finally understood that sometimes the most important link you open isn't the one on your screen. It's the one you've been avoiding in your own heart.